The Queen's death has completely broken the British media. The BBC in particular has embarrassed itself with non-stop, obsequious coverage of the royals. That has included some fairly bizarre racial stereotyping. On Saturday, the Britain correspondent for the Wall Street Journal tweeted this. BBC commentator explains that Scottish people, quote, don't emote as enthusiastically as people down south, unquote. That was as the royal hearse wound its way past silent crowds in Scotland. That's, of course, one way to explain people not mourning as vigorously as BBC producers might have hoped. So that was the BBC on Scotland, but what about the Russians?
And isn't it interesting how on the international scene, it was Vladimir Putin who couldn't rush, of all people, who couldn't rush fast enough to pay his respects, jumping on the bandwagon. This anti-monarchist, atheistic republic, let's not go near the war in Ukraine. But he too recognized what this woman meant and stood for.
Putin leads an anti-monarchistic, atheistic republic. Now, I assume the commentator was thinking of the Soviet Union, which collapsed 30 years ago. Vladimir Putin rules like a monarch and is incredibly close with the Russian Orthodox Church. In fact, he uses that relationship to justify many of his actions. The host, of course, didn't push back, but rather responded by saying, yes, he did respond quickly, didn't he? So that's just two examples of the idiocy of pundits on the BBC. The most ridiculous moment, though, involved them taking us for fools.
And can I just add something about the Paddington Bear sketch that we've all seen? We should remember that she acted that in empty space.
Yes.
There wasn't a real Paddington there, although
yes.
it looked like it. She acted out what she would say to Paddington, and then the CGI experts went in and animated a Paddington image for her.
No. What? The Queen wasn't actually sitting opposite Paddington Bear? Give that woman an Oscar. She was speaking to blank space. The Paddington Bear was put in afterwards by CGI. Phenomenal. I had absolutely no idea. I think from the voice, that was probably the same commentator in both moments. And I think what's especially notable is that in neither example, I actually watched the Russia one live. Was there any pushback at all from the BBC host? They have all given up on doing journalism since the Queen passed.
I thought Paddington 2 was a documentary. No?
Yeah, I mean, he's a real bear. He's a real bear. Well, he's not. Thanks to that expert, we know that he was a CGI bear.
He's a real bear with a little Ben Whishaw trapped inside him. What you're seeing play out is that there are two standards. One is a standard of intense criticism and hostility if you say anything which is from an anti-monarchist or Republican perspective. The press will come down on you like a ton of bricks, even if what you're saying is perfectly reasonable and totally accurate. However, if you are saying something in the spirit of deference, veneration, obsequiousness, you can say whatever mad shit you want on TV, Michael, and people will go, yeah, that is just totally the case. I mean, you could go on TV and be like, I just think it was really amazing that even Kim Jong-un himself paid his respects. And that tells you about the kind of stateswoman Elizabeth II truly was. And you would have some totally vapid, hair and teeth maniac presenter being like, oh yeah, totally. And I think that me and you have made grave mistakes with our career, Michael, because we've worn our sincere beliefs just on our sleeve to go, you know what, we would rather have an elected head of state. That was a mistake. What we should have done, if what we wanted to do is just say mad shit on TV, get away with it and get paid for it, is become royal commentators.